Hello everyone, this is Jess from J Rose Alchemic Art and welcome back to another video. In this one I have been prepping for my latest local convention. Evidently I also have a prince that's sneezing in the background, so apologies. But yeah, just getting ready for that and hoping to have a successful event at another local convention. This one is going to be QuadCon. Technically normally it's usually a 2-day event, but for this year it got moved to 1 day only. So we're going to see how it goes, and if you have already read the video title then you probably already know it was more successful, which is a good thing, than my last 3-day event, which is very interesting. But we'll get into all the details here in a minute. I'm gonna get right into some footage of like the setting up, and I didn't have much footage unfortunately of the actual convention itself because they were playing a lot of copyrighted music, but we'll get into that here in a minute. Hello. So technically it is the morning of the day of the convention, but I have finished packing everything up, I believe. I figured I'd do a quick little preview, so I did end up finishing some extra sculptures, so hopefully I'm ready for today. Lots of stickers. A lot of stickers. I have my keychains, all of my plushie keychains, the art prints and sticker sheets and everything like that, so I think we're pretty much good to go, but we'll do a quick review. On the ground here we do have all of the plushie keychains, Midnight. We have the cash box just in case. This is kind of my miscellaneous bin, but there's extra bags in here. There's the art prints and sticker sheets and everything like that. I did end up making these signs as well, which I thought was kind of fun. I have Spooky Atelier, Magical Prints. There's one in here as well. Yep, an extra menu. I ended up designing all of this yesterday, and I was like so tired and exhausted I didn't feel like filming it because I did it at like 10-11 p.m. But they're done. Am I like the happiest with some of the signs? This will actually be a sign that's going to go on top of the booth. Hopefully kind of encourage people. Do I know how well that it's going to go? Maybe. I think maybe in the future I'll probably update the sign, but I do like the little magical prints, and then I have one that says like sparkly wares, cozy, or clay pal familiars, things like that, so it's kind of fun. In here I do have just all of my clay designs, so I have some packaged in boxes. The rest of these are actually all wrapped in wrapping paper, so they should be safe. And then we have all of the enamel pins in there and the mystery bags. And then this is actually holding all of the stickers and keychains. So I think that we're pretty much ready to go. It's all just a matter of actually packing it up in the car and hoping for the best. Now, as far as the event itself, I have actually been doing QuadCon. They do quite a few shows around like the Midwest area, but I've been doing the one that's closest to me for, I think since 2023 actually. That was my very first like artist alley and everything, which is super fun. So this will be my 3rd year now technically at this specific location. I've also done their other shows which have been at like malls and things, so if you guys haven't seen some of those videos before, make sure to check them out. It's always usually been, for me, I feel like they've always gone pretty well. I really always love the people that come around. Everyone's always really sweet. I've never had any weird interactions at this specific show. I've had some weird, like, not terrible, but just kind of weird interactions at some of the ones in the mall, but it's not really that big of a deal. I will say though, this year for some reason, I don't know exactly why, normally it's actually a 2-day show, so it's usually like Saturday and Sunday. This year specifically, it's actually only going to be Saturday. So today the hours are from 10 to 5 p.m. Really not too bad. And we can obviously set up you could set up last night, you had it from 3 to 7 p.m. I did go in and I set up around like 5 o'clock-ish, so it was pretty easy. And then you also have this morning to set up, so that's why I'm actually bringing all the rest of the products and everything this morning. So setup I believe was from 6:30 to when the show starts at 10. You do have to be there early though, because they do not give you a badge. Really, it's just kind of like a, here's a stamp and make sure that you get that, because otherwise you have to pay to get through the door, which would kind of suck. But regardless, I am going to bring everything in this morning. I think that it'll go pretty well. Sales wise, this one in particular, I think because you do have to pay to get in through the door, it's not a free event. I usually make a little bit less than what I normally would at like some of the mall shows, but also hopefully it's people that are excited about, you know, Comic-Con in general, so it's pretty exciting. The other thing I will say is at the same time, there's a Pride festival or Pride event. Festival? I think it's also a festival. There's an event going on for Pride Month, even though it is July, but this city always does it the following month in July as well, which is really fun, but it's happening at the same time. So I think that hopefully it'll still be a good crowd. I also think it might rain later today, which is unfortunate. But hopefully, you know, everyone can have a good time. At the end of the day, it's one day. You can't expect anything too crazy. So probably the next time I see you guys will be when we're actually at the event and getting ready to set up. So I'll see you then. Table is all set up. Got everything all good to go. We did last minute get an extra table, and it kind of, I guess the people here didn't show up, so it became a corner table. So we just have everything displayed off on the side here, and hopefully that looks okay enough at least. Kind of feels like a merchant displaying the wares. So we have the booth babe handling the fort as I go walk off to go explore. So yes, unfortunately, I apologize. I did not end up filming too much at the actual event itself. The nice thing, and it is kind of fun at this event, they like to play like different music from like video games or anime theme songs that are popular, like Pokemon, things like that. So unfortunately, really could not film technically and have the music in the background, or else this video would probably not even exist. So that's totally fine. It was still a good time all around, and I ended up having, I was supposed to have my husband there with me, but we had a friend's emergency, so I ended up being at the event by myself for most of the day. So I didn't really have too much time for filming, but I had a really good time and ended up getting a bunch of new people that came around that saw the booth, and some repeat customers as well. So let's get right into it. So in case you have been following me for a while, you may or may not know, I've actually been doing this particular convention for the last 3 years. This was technically the very first convention that I had ever done as a artist, so it's kind of nice to be able to come back to it and think about how much I've grown over the last 3 years. And it was also really cool that there were some brand new artists that had never been to the show before or had never like vended in general sometimes. So it's kind of fun to chat and like share some facts with each other, you know, kind of tips and tricks. So it's really cool, honestly. I've always really enjoyed the show. technically, just to put this out there, some of the events that are also associated with QuadCon are normally free. This is actually specifically a ticketed event, so you did have to pay to get into the actual convention for the attendees. But so I think that did impact sales just a little bit, but honestly not that much, because obviously it was still pretty busy. And unfortunately there was also another event that was happening at the same time. The area also was having a Pride Festival, even though it was July. This area happens to also have one at the same time. So I think with those contributing factors, it wasn't as busy or as big as it maybe could have been, but I think overall it still went really well and I still had a really good time. So I'm certainly not complaining. I'm glad that people were hopefully able to enjoy both events, honestly, because I think I saw a couple people from both, so really cool, honestly. Another really good thing about this event is that the people there are super kind, between the actual other artists and vendors, booksellers, comic booksellers that actually write and draw some of their own work. It's really fun. And then obviously the attendees themselves, so I really appreciate that. And I like that it's really fun that people have seen me at this show for the last 3 years, so they do actually kind of recognize either my table display or my art or whatever it might be. So they at least always come up and say hi, and sometimes they still have the art with them, so if they bought like a keychain or a plushie or something like that, so it kind of warms my heart a little bit. Thank you very much for all those who have purchased from me over the years. But yeah, also the other vendors were super sweet as well, so it was fun to chat with them and just about art in general. Sorry, Prince is in the background here if you can't tell. So do want to mention a little shout out to Chubby Art and Baofam Art. Hold on one second. But yeah, shout out to both Chubby Art and Baofam Art. Both of them were super sweet. They had amazing art. Chubby Art is a 3D printing artist, but she also makes wax melts, so I happened to pick some of those up. Really cute. They're like little animal shaped. I really love them, honestly. And she was so sweet too. And then Baofam Art was actually a not newer artist, but like a newer to vending artist. They were both actually newer to vending, but he had some really amazing work, really detailed, either painting, sketch work, things like that, but also had it in the form of like stickers or prints or things like that. So super sweet. And I think that they both had a good time, or at least I'm hoping. Oh, and you can also see Buffy in the background, sorry. So let's get right into the nitty gritty. So technically my total expenses were, for this show in particular, it was $80 for a 10x10 space. You do get a 8-foot table and 2 chairs. Technically I think you could get more chairs if you wanted, or if you needed them, but didn't really have that issue, obviously. And then it ended up being, I don't know how this always happens, but the table to the right of me, technically they never showed up. So I ended up making a corner table, something that I was definitely not expecting, and especially because I had a new table display set up anyway. So it was kind of interesting to try and plan that out and make it look cohesive and nice still. Hopefully I did an okay job, but obviously it still worked out okay, so that's okay. As for how much I actually made vending at this event, kind of like the title said, I technically made more vending at a one-day local event as compared to a big, well, supposedly it was going to be a big 3-day event that was in like Rosemont, kind of close to Chicago area, which is kind of wild to think about it, honestly. Technically, so not officially, it was more like I made more after expenses than I did at my last 3-day show. So this was Nightmare Weekend by GalaxyCon, and even though it was technically backed by a big convention corporation, technically, I still made more at this event than I probably would have, and there was less people at this event clearly than there were at Nightmare Weekend. So kind of an interesting concept to think of. I honestly feel that it's more because For one, at GalaxyCon or at Nightmare Weekend, there were probably too many artists and just not enough attendees. The local people do kind of recognize my face and my art a little bit more, especially now that I've been selling in the area for a few years now. And there's just not as many big events. When Nightmare Weekend happened, it was right in between some C2E2 and then another kind of bigger local, not local, but a bigger anime convention in Chicago. And unfortunately, when you have that, people are still trying to save money. They want to save it for like some of those bigger events, and if they're not able to, and especially for a first year convention, yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't always work out that way. So I think that people still enjoyed themselves at both events. I still had a good time at both events myself. I just find it interesting that I technically made more after my expenses at this local one-day event. So I will go into my most sold items, excuse me. Always stickers. People love the stickers. I don't know if it's just the sparkly holographic that makes you want to go like, ooh, yeah, it kind of catches your eye. But people really do love the bundle deal. So I think if you are ever selling your art yourself and you're ever interested, do try to offer those bundle deals. Normally I only do it with my stickers, but this year I did try to include it with my art prints as well. And honestly, I didn't have anyone take up on the art print deal. A lot of people took part in the sticker bundle deal, obviously. But I did sell more prints than usual, which is really nice. Normally I maybe sell a couple prints, if any at all. And this time I actually sold more than I expected, honestly. And they were of my original art as well. So that always makes me really happy. I'm really glad that you guys enjoy my original art as well. Keychains were also kind of a bigger one as well. I did actually have to reorder my shaker keychain design. So that'll actually be updated in the shop pretty soon here, so that way you guys can kind of see what it is. Essentially, for the inside, it's my bottle of booze. But the bigger ghost was kind of making it more difficult to move pieces around. So I asked if they could just make it 3 smaller ghosts. And I think that it's still a really cute design. But now that I think I have maybe 2 left of the original design, if that. So now that we're pretty much low on stock, I at least have some backups. So those always are pretty popular though. If you're like me, I really like the ghost art and the puns, so I think that they work out well. Clay items also, they always usually do pretty well, but I did sell quite a few of them, so I do need to make some more, probably for my next event, which will actually be in September, and then just for my shop in general, of course. And then sticker books. Sticker books were also a really popular thing this time, which I'm super happy about. I actually only have 2 left. That is also updated in the shop, so if you want to get one, now is the time. I may end up reordering more of those as well. Or maybe I'll just say that it's 2 and we're done. Let me know if you're interested in them at all in the comments. But yeah, I will say, technically, I do keep track of all of my purchases that I had throughout the day. Technically 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. were my busiest times for sales technically. So I think like, you know, kind of right before lunch rush hour and then right after people come back from lunch. So kind of interesting to see here. Technically my worst seller was my large print. I actually have it set up on my table display so people can always see it, but I always forget to put it out for whatever reason because it is technically a 5x7 print, I believe. 8x12. I need to look at it again. Sorry, math is not working right at the moment. But yeah, I've never actually. I always forget to put it out, even though it's up on the table display. And I think people point it out, but because it's not there in my art print rack, I think people forget about it. So I personally need to be better about putting it out, but that I think is part of the reason why it's never been like picked up before. So hopefully I will do that in the future and we'll have some better luck with it. As far as the setup, yeah, this was a very interesting event. I had already been planning to add a lot more details to my setup and display this time. I had been practicing at home beforehand, and then it all kind of went out the window as soon as that other neighbor didn't show up and I had to make a corner display. So I pretty much do mostly all self-serve, which I think is nice. I've never really had an issue with any theft or anything like that, but I'm usually pretty good at keeping an eye on people. I've also not been at like a super crazy event where people are like all crowding the booth. Usually it's always been a, you know, if anything, sale will end, move on to the next person, another person will come up. So I've had multiple people at my table before and they end up purchasing, but never like swarms of people. So I think that also maybe kind of helps too. But I do think that this is kind of a good benefit to have the self-serve because people can actually visually see it in front of them. They can pick it up if they want to. I do encourage people to do that just so that they can actually hold it in their hands and see like if they really enjoyed the product. So, and I think that really does help with purchasing, honestly. So I did end up adding that top middle section to kind of hold up the banner for my booth. And I added a little bit of a like fake foliage greenery to it, but I'm hoping in the future to add more like foam board inserts of my original characters and have them kind of like poking up and around the booth as well. I also really want to make a design that says like the Spooky Atelier. If you kind of looked at the table setup this time, I did print out some like laminated cards that said like spooky wares or sparkly wares, clay familiars, things like that, just to kind of try and keep it fun and interesting. And I think that to me they were cute. I really enjoyed it. I don't know how much that necessarily helped with anything, but I liked it, so we'll see. I do want to maybe redesign it though, because it was very last minute. I technically made them like couple hours before the event was supposed to happen, so really the day before. So yeah, in the future I think I would like to design it a little bit better when I have more time, obviously, and not have it be a rush job. So that way it looks a little bit better when it's on the table in the display. I also want to hopefully continue to make some new art in the future here. Gonna be adding some hopefully new keychains to the to my events and to my shop, obviously. I'm also like pretty interested in washi tape. I've been hearing a couple of people ask for that, so we'll see if that'll happen here in the near future. And then yeah, just more original art as well, I think, because while I would say I think it's very interesting, I would say that people really do enjoy the fan art and everything, but honestly, like my biggest sellers personally are of my original art, which is so humbling and I really do appreciate that. But I want to continue to work on my art in this way, definitely work on more clay designs, more original art with my drawings and my characters of Lucy and Luna and Midnight and all of their friends. And for sure I think it would be good to, we're getting kind of on the lower side of the plushie keychains. There's still plenty, like we're gonna be fine for a little bit longer, but I almost wonder about making more designs in the future. So currently I only have Midnight the Ghost Cat. Technically, originally I had made Princess Lucy, who was my first original character. So I think it would be fun to maybe have her also be a plushie keychain. Originally I had made a larger, kind of like an actual plushie you can hold, but I don't know how well that would do, and it would probably be pretty expensive to make those, especially right now in this economy. So I don't know what the price point with that would be. And if it's the plushie keychains, I feel like they might go a little bit better. People can, you know, see it, hold it on their bag. It might be a little bit easier. So yeah, we'll kind of see what happens in the future here as far as new things to make. But yeah, that is technically all for this one. I hope that you guys maybe learned something, hopefully had a good time listening to me jibber jabber for the last several minutes. And if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm always happy to try my best to answer at least. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a wonderful day.